Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final round of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Season 2 here at Racing Club International. After 4 rounds of intense one-make action, it all comes down to this, the legendary Mount Panorama circuit. This circuit needs no introduction, fast, narrow, and unforgiving. It's a true test of skill and nerve, the perfect setting for a championship decider. Joe Dorber comes into this round with an 8-point lead over teammate Nico Kumpu, but with everything on the line and the mountain ready to bite, nothing is guaranteed. I'm John Dalton, joined by Joseph Black and Ash Bibby behind the cameras, and our live stewards as always, and we're all set for a thrilling end to the season, and it's time to crown our Super Trofeo champion, and there's no better place to do it than here at Bathurst.
Yeah, it's the last time we're going to be in the comms box together, a sad time, or at least the last time on a Monday for the moment. But yeah, it will be a very, very, very good evening of racing, you would imagine. As you mentioned, the championship fight is nearing its end, and it should be incredible. Nico Kumpu, Joe Dorber, they've worked together so far this season, but I think this is where it's going to go. Right down to the very wire. I think this is where they're going to fight each other. 8 points between the two, 1 round left. And, well, Joe Dorber leads that championship, 8 points ahead of Nico Kumpu in second place. Marko Vodovsky still hypothetically in with a shot of the title in mathematical contention at least. But if he was to do so, it would be absolutely incredible. But I can't see him being anywhere near the title contention. But with the pace that he's demonstrated, I think he's certainly got an opportunity to try and disrupt the top two. And at the moment, he is only 2 thousandths off of Nico Kumpu in P2, but Kumpu himself 4 tenths off of Joe Dorber on the opening laps.
Yeah, it's going to be a big ask, isn't it, for Marco Badowski to pull something out the bag today, as a few preliminary qualifying laps have come in, already into the 2-minute window as we ride on board with Joe Dorber through the first half of the lap. Of course, Hell Corner, the big long drag up Mountain Straight into Griffin's Bend, through the cutting, and then over the top of Reed Park, and begins the kind of cascades and climbs and the ebbs and flows of the circuit. Through Sullivan Park, another brave corner. Be careful of the wall on the outside, and here, very easy to lose the rear of the car, taking all of the curb towards the inside boarding before coming into Skyline, kind of dabbing the brakes on and off. You see the footwork in the bottom left-hand side, working the steering wheel as he cascades through the S's and down the dipper towards Forest's Elbow. Again, another good passing place. If you can get alongside, it's very awkward. It's a diagonal break into the apex almost from the outside to the inside. And then we begin the long run down Conrod Straight. Of course, the power slipstream being a thing in these one-make series. And again, lots of discussion between the drivers in the chat about wing levels that they're planning to use. Some drivers electing for no wing, other drivers electing for maximum wing. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Do you stay safe over the mountain, or do you play it kind of risky in a straight line and try and kind of elongate that top speed of the car? Through the chase, obviously another hard braking zone, good passing place once again before we come down to Murray's Corner. So easy to overshoot this corner on a fast lap, and even easier to do it in a race scenario. Joe Dorber to the line, another time on the board. It's a 2-minute 0.700, not too far off his teammate Nico Kumpu at the head. Cemented the gap between himself and Marco Badowski as Kevin Boss puts himself up into P7. Lots of competitive times, Joe, on the initial run through. We typically see drivers splitting the qualifying session in half, so a few more tweaks in the pit lane, a bit less fuel, and we'll see the cars leaving the pit lane for the second half of the qualifying.
Yeah, and I think we might be seeing gaps come down. The gap at the top is only under a tenth. So, well, if that gap comes down any more, it will be incredible. But that's about the gap, I'd say, pace-wise, there has been between the two, Nico Kumpu and Joe Dorber, throughout this season. They've been so incredibly tight together. And, well, they have 3 consecutive 1-2 finishes in this series. Well, Joe Dorber has 3 consecutive victories in this series. Nico Kumpu has 3 consecutive second places, but he took the victory in round 1 at Monza, so he is certainly has the pace, while Joe Dorber had a disappointing 4th place. I say disappointing with quote marks in the air, because that is just because of the high expectations that they have set for each other in this race and in this championship. Peter Varga, 12th of 13th. He's the last driver, or the slowest driver to have set a lap time so far, but he's 10 seconds off. I think that may well have been an outlap or a mistake on the number 508's lap, and he's going to now try to catch up. Damien Lowe just ahead, 3.6 off of Nico Kumpu's top time at the moment, and 1.6 off of Kevin Boss just up ahead. Will Stevenson not set a lap time so far. His pace hasn't been too bad in the couple of races that he's done. He got a podium at Monza, but he hasn't raced the last couple of rounds, and so he finds himself behind Les Stevenson in the standings, down in P10. But still plenty to play for, as Les is not racing today. Andy Boardman is. He's the driver directly ahead of Will Stevenson by 8 points. But it's basically going to come down to who finishes ahead on track. So lots of battles still to be decided. Lots of fights still to be had. And, well, of course, there's the one at the very top that we have to mention. Tom Shipston going in with a personal best. He's 3/10 off of Andy Boardman in P6, but he's 8/10 ahead of Mike Redford in 8th place. So he is in a little bit of his own. He's in a world of his own at the moment. Mike Redford, Malcolm and Kevin Boss split by just 0.04 of a second. Damien Lowe trying to catch his way back up into that pack, and we'll see where he's able to go. 6 drivers within a second of each other as we cross the 6-minute mark left in this race.
Say 6 minutes to go in qualifying indeed, and everybody's racing to the line to try and get those times in. As you said, Joe, a bit of dust being kicked up ahead of Damien Lowe, and it's one of the rebound racing cars. Could be Nico Kumpu or Joe Dorber. Just looking at the number, it is Nico Kumpu round on the exit of the chase, so he's going to take another lap, build a bit of a gap. Joe Dorber has just passed him to begin his lap, as Damien Lowe towards the line. 2:04.972, not good enough to beat his best. Still a little bit to go on that one for low speed racing. Tom Shipston back to the pits. Will Stevenson is now nipping at his heels, just a tenth or so off the back of the number 60 RPMS entry. And Andy Boardman, of course, just up the road on that one. It's going to come down, isn't it, to the Rebound Racing 2 at the top, I feel. Who's going to be the quicker of the two on today's race? And I hope today we get to see some battles, Joe, because remember last time out at Laguna Seca, it was Joe Dorber leading the way, got tagged around by Nico Kumpu in the dying stages, and then they switched back around again. So Nico Kumpu gave the win to Joe Dorber, but I'm not sure if we'll see any team tactics here tonight. Time will, of course, tell by the time the checker flag drops as Matthew Malcolm drops the car, heading over the top of the mountain into the S's. Very easy to get the car unsettled. As I said, on the run through with Joe Dorber, carry a bit too much kind of braking into that corner. The rear goes light over the crest and round it goes. And Matthew Malcolm going to have to forget about that one and try and get his head back in the game once again, because you always make that one mistake, don't you, Joe? And then it kind of plays on your mind for the rest of the kind of race weekend, and you approach the corner a little bit more cautiously than you once did, because you found that limit, you've gone over it, and it's very easy to do once again if you get pushing, as Will Stevenson comes to the line to finish his lap. Just under 4 minutes on the clock. Will he go up the board? He does. He jumps up to P7, 201.697, just off the back of Andy Boardman. Once again, Joe, could be a copy-paste of the Ginetta Cup.
It could well be, and well, we get a good look at a lot of these drivers across all of these different series, and most particularly we get a good look at whether they're going to be good across all across all cars, or whether they're going to be good across just a couple, and whether they have a specialist car as well. I think for the likes of Will Stevenson and Andy Boardman, they much preferred the Ginettas, but for the likes of Nico Kumpu and Joe Dorber, the Lambos really do seem to suit them, and the two Rebound Racing cars at the top of the standings, as they have been the majority of the season. Don't count out Marko Badowski as well. I think he, so far in the last couple of series is not English, but we'll go with it, has proven himself to be a very good driver across a lot of different forms of racing. The Ginetta and the Lamborghini, two very different cars, but he seems to have decent pace across the both of them. Raphael Huell as well, one up there in as well. But Lily Armstrong in 5th place in this qualifying session so far. I think they've really turned it up in the last couple of races, 3rd and 5th. Respectively, as Raphael Huell goes in 2nd or 3rd, even in qualifying, 2/10 off of Nico Kumpu's time at the top, and just a 10th off Joe Dorber. But Lily Armstrong, Marko Badowski, and Raphael Huell seem to be the ones that have a decent pace across, or a consistent pace at least, across all of the different cars.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? You know, some cars favour drivers better than others. The Lamborghini Super Trofeo is almost like a slicker GT3 car. It's a bit of a feeder series in the real world, into the world of GT3s and GT racing in general. Raphael Huell has thrown himself into the top of the board now, just 2/10 off the back of Nico Kumpu, and he was very competitive, if you remember, in Laguna Seca towards the end of the race as well. So the number 21 definitely has pace, and Raphael Huell certainly knows this place very well indeed at the moment. Joe Dorber just behind his teammate, still Raphael Huell, of course, just behind Dorber, as he gets very greedy on the curbing and grass out of McPhillamy Park, really pushing the limits of the number 21 Oregon team car. Very colourful front end. Don't tend to mistake that from afar. Through the first couple of sectors, though, looking good on Delta overall. He's just got to tackle the elbow and begin the long run down the Conrod straight to the chase. And it feels like it goes on forever almost in a qualifying lap, especially when you get a poor exit out of the elbow. You just kind of stare at your Delta, hemorrhaging time. And Raphael Huell hasn't had the best run out of the elbow so far. Can he make it up, though, in the dying few corners? Down into the chase, flat out right-hander, standing on the brakes, about the 150 board normally in a GT3 car. Keep careful on the inside curb. It's quite a big curb to take a lump out of, and then propel yourself down towards the final corner of Murray's under the Liquid Moly Bridge. Again, hard on the brakes, about 100 meters into the final corner. Looks like he got a bit of understeer running out towards the exit curb. Is it good enough for an improvement? It is, but it's not good enough for another position. Raphael Huell still on the second row of the grid, Joe, although across the line, 10 seconds to go. He's got another stab at it, and he could be the man to dethrone Nico Kumpu today.
He may well be, and Nico Kumpu, who has came second every single time of the races in this series, apart from that one in Monza where he took that victory, is now trying to seal that pole position. He currently holds it as the checkered flag is waved, and we watch Mike Redford head through on the circuit. He has 2 seconds off of the pole time, but he's 8/10 off of Tom Shipston, so he needs to find some decent time on this lap. Lily Armstrong, Andy Boardman, Will Stevenson, Tom Shipston, Kevin Boss, Peter Varga and Damien Lowe have all finished their sessions, and Mike Redford is about to as he comes up to the line and improves by 7/10, which is a good improvement, but it's not quite enough to catch up to Tom Shipston. Matt Malcolm is going to head through the final couple of corners, and he's going to try and close up that gap as well. It's a very similar gap that Redford has, as Dorba and Kumpu have not improved on their times. Raphael Huell, Marco Badowski, now is your opportunity to try and close right in. Matt Malcolm is going to come around the final corner and up to the line in the number 199, as he found that 8/10 that Mike Redford was looking for. No, he's found 6/10 though, and so he gets closer to the cars in front, Huell and Badowski, the final cars on the circuit and the final cars to push. Are they going to be snatching pole position off of Joe Dorba or Nico Kumpu? As it stands, it's going to be a front row lockout for the Rebound Racing cars, but the Oregon team, Raphael Huell, the pink and yellow, is going to come around the final corner and come up to the line. Has he done enough to get ahead of a 2-minute 6? No, he has not. Huell and Badowski have not improved. Nico Kumpu will be taking that pole position, and as I say, it's going to be a 1-2 for the Rebound Racing team.
1-2 indeed for Rebound Racing. Marco Badowski, though, fastest middle sector of the grid, and he's all the way down in P4, so that kind of alludes Badowski may be on a bit of a stronger rear wing to keep the car settled across the top of the mountain, and of course losing it in the final and the first sectors. Nico Kumpu, though, will take away a bonus 4 points for his pole position. That'll be added on to his points towards the end of the race when the checker flag drops. So the race begins. 254 to Joe Dorba, 250 to Nico Kumpu, and you can see there a good range of lap times. We've got lots of battles looking like they will form between, of course, Boardman, Stevenson and Shipston. That's quite close. Redford could even be tacked onto the back of that with Malcolm as well. Kevin Boss, Varga and Damien Lowe towards the back end of the grid. They look like they could have their own fight on their hands for overall championship honours, and of course it is that time when we do preview the championship results. This is how they stand. No bonus points being given. Of course, this is how they left the last round. So it was Joe Dorba on 254 points, Nico Kumpu on 246, although add the 4 points on for pole position. Marco Badowski, it's a bit of a long shot, as we keep saying, Joe, but never say never. If Rebound collide, Badowski could be on for a good haul of points ahead of him. Raphael Huell, though, 173 points. He starts ahead of Badowski today, and Lily Armstrong in P5 on the grid, P5 on the championship, 157 points. Tom Shipston, 125, some points ahead of Christian Benz, who's not on the grid with us tonight, so Shipston cements at least a 6th place. Les Stevenson, nowhere to be found once again, 106 points to his name, with Andy Boardman on 102, so that should be another position change at least. Will Stevenson rounds out your top 10 with 94 points. And as we move on to the second page, Peter Lundqvist just behind on 90, Mike Redford on 81, Damien Lowe, 72, Richard Whittle, absent from the grid tonight, 67. Peter Varga on 66. Kevin Boss on 59. Theobald Roskam, once again, not with us, 56 points for another Rebound Racing driver. Ted Ayres on 34, and I think, thankfully, no terrifying livery on the field tonight for us. And Matthew Malcolm on 31. We then have a big gap back to Miguel Martins on 19, rounds out your top 20. And of course, everybody lumped in together. And the final page, everybody that has signed out from the championship. So 25 drivers started, 20 drivers on the championship scoring, and 13 on the grid for tonight's race. And of course, the mountain is a bit of a formidable circuit to, of course, decide a championship. But certainly a good one nonetheless. I think Kevin Boss has picked very wisely here with his race calendar. And what Kevin Boss has also done is picked very wisely for next Monday's championship with sign-ups already at their limit. So 50 grid slots to be signed up for. 50 have already been taken. The reserve list is forever growing as well. And if we do get enough reserves, there will be a second split opened up. Currently 8 drivers on the reserve list. So you can head on over to the website racerci.com and get your name down on the reserves list for this championship, because one of our most popular ones yet on a Monday. Even I've thrown my name into that one. So it'd be good to see some new faces on the circuit. Friday's calendar this week sees the conclusion of the LMGT Sprint Series within Le Mans Ultimate. Imola plays host to Friday's round with Martin Lawrence with some consistent results, still leading the championship. And Zach Vermark still in hot contention, although with Angela Scott, Philip Brejda also in close competition. So it's a bit of a three-way fight essentially for the next kind of step down in the championship. And Saturday this week sees us heading into the world of iRacing. It's that time again for the RSS Endurance Series as we continue at Watkins Glen for 6 hours of non-stop GTP and GTD action. There is still space on the sign-ups list, I believe. So if you do want a mid-season sign-up and have a bit of weekend fun with a few friends, there's also a full broadcast on RCI TV, and the schedule for that one is looking quite good, with lots of availability for RCI staff. So you should see a good range of faces across the 6 hours as well. As we reach the final minute of gridding up, Joe, it's Nico Kumpu, Joe Dorber, Raphael Huell, and Badowski all on those kind of top 2 rows. I think it's going to be anybody's race tonight, and it's going to be who gets the better run through Hell Corner and who gets to the head of that train first. And I think that'll be the deciding factor, because once you get over the top of the mountain, it is very, very hard to get past people.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for those to pass, as you mentioned. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a very interesting debate to see whether they do actually try to fight, because of course they are going to try and fight all the way to the finish, because, well, they are championship contending at the end of the day, the top 2, and not only the top 2, those in and around the field I've mentioned before. Marco Badowski's outside shot at taking the championship, the close fight between the Stevensons and Boardman, of course. Les not here this evening, and just a bunch of battles that are going on. If Raphael Huell has a poor race, Lily Armstrong has an opportunity to take P4. If Badowski has a poor race and Lily has a particularly strong one, then they have the opportunity to take P3. But we shall see how they end up going as we set off on the formation lap. So there's nothing to lose for a lot of the drivers, and they are going to go flat out to see if they can take the victory in this one. Regardless of what happens, it's going to be a very, very good race. And I think even though, even if they're not thinking about the championship, even if there's not many overtaking opportunities, we're going to see some audacious moves.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of drivers kind of like risking it and trying to really force the move open as such. And it's going to be rather close on points between the rebound guys. We're going to see a bit of comms box mass going on, I think, tonight, to see if we can figure out how the standing order will be. Of course, the live stewards are keeping their eye across the board and across the mountain. tonight. Some very fearsome names on the panel. I wouldn't like to be involved in an incident at all with some of these guys watching over. There's going to be some penalties certainly dished out. And again, that could be the deciding factor between your championship going well and your championship not going so well. Track limits aren't really going to be a thing here tonight. I mean, Hell Corner, if you're abusing track limits, you're pretty much in the grass by that point. The same down at Murray's Corner. There's not really an awful lot to take advantage of, other than if you're kind of shortcutting Skyline as you cascade down the mountain. That's the only place you'll really pick one up, or being very brave on the exit of McPhillamy Park. But we'll have to see how that one plays out. Fingers crossed for a clean start today. Of course, drivers tend to single file themselves out by the time they reach the top of the mountain, or the beginning of the mountain, should we say, at the cutting. And then it's a single file across the top, and then we'll start seeing some moves towards the latter half of the lap. Bottom left-hand side of your screen, partners will be revolving around throughout the broadcast, and we thank them very much for their support, like you guys at home as well. We thank you very much for joining us in this final round. Ready, Set, Sim, title sponsor, of course, of the RSS Endurance Series that's happening on Saturday. Build your dream sim rig in seconds with their sim rig builder. Their mission being to simplify sim racing by providing a comprehensive and personalized experience. Not forgetting, of course, the €400 prize pool offered alongside our RCI trophies for the RSS Endurance Series. Coach Dave Delta, faster lap times start with Delta, a setup and data analysis app for iRacing, ACC, LMU, and even Gran Turismo 7. Available in 9 languages, giving you the access to setups, racing lines, and data analysis. Why not stay ahead of your rivals with Delta? Greenman Gaming, where you can, of course, buy games and game keys with Greenman Gaming. Get the best prices and awesome bundles and exclusive game deals daily. We have an affiliate link down below. Sprinkle some pennies into the RCI pot if you are looking to pick anything up off their website in the coming month. IMB Racewear, providing fully custom designs to allow sim racers and real-life racers to make the impact they've always wanted in their clothing. And of course, they did provide us with some very fancy gloves for a prize pool within the esports series. And Moser Racing, we're thrilled to partner with those guys last year, a leader in high-quality sim racing gear. Moser Racing has everything to boost your racing experience. Be sure to check their link down below in the description. And we're also a Motorsport UK Esports recommended community, which is a very prestigious thing, has brought some new members into the RCI camp, and we welcome you all with open arms. And if you are looking to get involved here, racerci.com is the place you need to go. Sign up on the website, join the Discord, and you too might make it to an RCI broadcast. But for tonight, we are coming through the final corner. This will be the final race on the calendar. Championship to be decided tonight. Nico Kumpu to your right, Joe Dorber to your left. Don't forget Raphael Huell and Badowski on the row behind. Watch out for Lily Armstrong in the white and black Lamborghini on the third row as we go green. Underway now down towards Hell Corner, the first one. We're going side by side already with the rebound boys. Joe Dorber trying to go around the outside. Settles for second best. Tucks in behind Nico Kumpu. And we begin the drag now up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend. It looks like Raphael Huell is slightly out of the train of Slipstream. He manages to tuck back in behind Marco Badowski. And already Joe Dorber is covering off into Griffin's Bend. You want to be on that inside line, and Dorber's been turned. Dorber has been turned in the early stages. Raphael Huell gets through. I think Andy Boardman's through in the background with Lily Armstrong, but Badowski caught up in that one as well, and that is detrimental to your championship leader. Straight to the back of the field for Joe Dorber, struggling to get it back underway as well. That's not going to be the start that he wanted at all for tonight's race, and I think somebody has been waiting. Number 97, Damien Lowe, has been caught up in that incident somewhere as well. So we'll have to catch a race replay to see what's happened there. The number 45 of Badowski is all the way to the back of the train as well. You can see on the circuit map to the right-hand side, Badowski's just broken away from the back of everyone as they make their way down towards the Forest Elbow. They're kind of nearly in Sector 3, and Joe Dorber still has to kind of climb over the mountain and get himself back through towards the back of the pack. And the pit window, Joe, isn't even open yet. So if Joe Dorber can get back round, maybe take this early stop as it flashes up top of the screen, maybe he can just drill in those fast laps for 57 minutes and see where he gets come the checkered flag.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But that could be championship defining. Joe Dorber dropping all the way down to the back of the field, and not only to the back of the field, really far off the field. Marko Badowski dropping down as well, and yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one where potentially we see a new race winner. But of course, Nico Kumpu is still up there, and he's going to try and take the opportunity to take the victory in this race. He's 1.2 seconds ahead of Raphael Huel. Could there be a potential that everybody else tries to fight with Nico Kumpu, tries to slow the field down and tries to allow Joe Dorber back into it? A sort of agreed racing, not rule, but unagreed rule as Joe Dorber comes into pit lane. So clearly he's got damage. The pit window is open. He doesn't have to pit again, but I'd be very surprised if he's able to make it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be rather tight on tyres, I would say, more than fuel. Fuel should be more than enough. As we see Damien Lowe there electing to stay out. He'll go up into P12. We do have to take just a brief pause from the action just to get our broadcast tools sorted. We'll go to a BRB screen and we'll be right back with you as Joe Dorber begins to hit his marks.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights.
Welcome back to the action at RCI International. We're straight into the drama already. Nico Kumpu now finds himself in the wall up at Skyline. Raphael Huel sneaks past into the race lead. Let's catch a race replay. We joined it literally as Nico came through, hit the curb hard into the left, hard into the right as well, bouncing out of both walls. That's a lot of front end damage for another rebound racing car. It was in the bag, Joe, until lap 1, and it was in the bag again until lap 2. This has all been turned on its head, and any comms box mass I've just done in this break has just gone out of the window. We're going to have to start recalculating stuff.
We really are. Nico Kumpu making a big mistake potentially. A little bit of damage on that rebound racing car, and he'll be back with Joe Dorber. Dorber himself is only just ahead of the leaders of this pack in terms of he's on the same straight now. He's just rounding the final corner. It's 1, 2, and then it's Nico Kumpu going around the final corner. So they are very, very close together on the circuit. It's only about 2 seconds between the two. Yes, I did just count it out loud, and I was about to say Mississippi. Didn't do that, but I almost made that, not error, but made that moment as, well, Raphael Huel leads this one by 1.6 seconds. Joe Dorber is down the field by a decent chunk. Nico Kumpu didn't come into the pits on that last lap, so he doesn't have any sort of damage that he doesn't feel as though he can manage. but at the same time, he may not be able to manage it anyway. We will see what he is going to be able to do throughout this race, and we'll certainly see what Joe Dorber's going to be able to do throughout this race, but it is not ideal for the two rebound racers, and Raphael Huell could be going on to take what would be his first victory of the season.
Yeah, Huell, a bit of a dark horse, hasn't really won too much in the season so far, but could have one on the cards tonight. But still, 53 minutes just under to go. Anything can happen. We've already seen Joe Dorber around. We've seen Nico Kumpu in the wall hard on the front end of that car. So lots of front aero damage. The bonnet is going to be flapping, which, again, will reduce his top speed. As we've got another brief yellow flag out, the number 97, Damien Lowe, spun just before the cutting at the beginning of his lap. He gets back underway, though. Let's catch a race replay, see what happened. He's already lost it on the exit of turn 2, Griffin's Bend. I assume too much curb. The TC hasn't kicked in quite the way he wanted to, and off to the driver's right. We've all done that before. The crucial thing, though, with Nico Kumpu, just looking at his onboard, his steering is straight, so no suspension damage, but you can see how much he's just been mugged off down the Conrod. Andy Boardman and Lily Armstrong straight past him, no messing about down into Murray's corner. Now we've got the battle, essentially, for the third step of the podium, or the second step of the podium, depending which way you look. Raphael Huell front a shot there. He's 3.5 seconds clear, nearly on Andy Boardman. And, of course, Lily Armstrong in tow with Will Stevenson, as well as Nico Kumpu elects to take his pit stop now. It's going to be a lengthy repair, I feel, for another rebound car. Joe Dorber was a 1:41, lost nearly a lap to the race leader, so we'll have to see where Nico comes out in comparison. But the championship fight at the top of the field has been literally turned on its head in a matter of laps, Joe.
It really, really has, and well, we're not even at the end of the race yet. We're only about 10 minutes in, so who knows what could happen across the next 50 laps on this race. That would be insane. Just anything could happen in this race. That is really the part of this race, and we will be having a driver up at the top of the field. It will not be one of the rebound racing cars just yet, at least. And well, Raphael Huell is going to be up at the top. He is the one in charge of this race for the first time in a while. And Andy Boardman just following through. A great opportunity for podiums for Boardman, Armstrong, Stevenson, Shipston. I think it'll increase the battling at the top, in fact, as opposed to discourage it, because those at the top are not the ones that would normally be right at the top of the field. Don't think any of them have picked up a podium this season, apart from Raphael Huell. So it would be an incredible story, and Lily Armstrong as well, picking up a podium in Watkins Glen. So it would be an incredible story if any of them were able to take home a podium today. Don't forget as well about Marco Badowski, still within range just behind Kevin Boss, and not that far off of the back of Tom Shipston. And actually, he's just made that move on Kevin Boss, and he's moved up to 6th place.
Yeah, Kevin Boss being put down to P7. I was going to say Kevin Boss up into P6, rather impressive. Mike Redford, though, nipping at his heels in the background as well. So that could be another fight on our hands. Matthew Malcolm, typically on a similar pace to Redford, just behind him. So again, this could be another three-way fight forming for what is essentially P7. Tom Shipston, though, has disappeared up the road somewhat. 4.2 seconds off the back of Will Stevenson. And 3 seconds clear of Marco Badowski at this present time. And yeah, it's going to be a bit of a big ask for a few drivers tonight. Badowski, of course, with lots of ground to make up. Nico Kumpu and Joe Dorber certainly with big ground to make up, as Lily Armstrong washes wide through the cutting. Will Stevenson with a much better run gets the move done by the time they get through Reed Park, and that's not a corner you want to go side by side, especially alongside the BP Ultimate boarding on the left-hand side of driver's left, And Andy Boardman, meanwhile, has been able to escape up the road just a little bit away from the battling duo we've got on our screens at the moment as they fall through Skyline down the dipper. They go. It's a bit of a kind of on and off the brakes, balancing the car and making sure you don't get that snap of oversteer like we saw Matthew Malcolm with in qualifying. But Andy Boardman breaking free slightly. That's a gap of about half a second or so as they come out onto the Conrod. Not going to be in slipstream range, but again, Lily Armstrong and Will Stevenson are certainly locked in that kind of dirty slipstreamy air. So you might see Lily Armstrong with a bit of a run down into the chase, but I don't think they're close enough this time by. So Will Stevenson certainly stretching the legs on that Lamborghini and trying to close up to his arch rival from the Genetic Cup, Andy Boardman, as Raphael Huell comes to take another lap on the board. Lap number 6 beginning for him. And we'll check the gap for Andy Boardman as he crosses the line. It's gone up again. It's ever so slight, but it is going up. So Huell putting in some very good lap times indeed at this present moment in time. And speaking of times, Nico Kumpu through the pit lane, 1:31 from in to out. So 10 seconds less than Joe Dorber, which kind of boggles my mind because Nico's hit looked a lot more than Joe's hit, but again, looks can be deceiving. So very strange indeed on that one. We'll have to bring you an update from the stewards when they get their things together and start sending reports through, and we'll update you in due time. Matthew Malcolm going for a move to the inside alongside Mike Redford. It's the favoured side of the road. Matthew Malcolm, though, slipping the front end somewhat up the banking into the course of Mike Redford, but gets the move done. The number 199 up into P8. Mike Redford down into P9.
Yeah, Redford down a position. And Matt Malcolm trying to move his way up 1.8 to offer Kevin Boss now as Marco Badowski's built up a gap to the number 31 in behind, but still has that gap up to Tom Shipston up ahead. So it's been a split over the last couple of laps, and Raphael Huell is flexing his legs up at the very top, 4.3 seconds ahead. And Raphael Huell at the moment is looking pretty good in terms of taking the victory in this race. We're about a quarter of the way through, and he's taken the perfect opportunity when he had the chance, and now he's almost 5 seconds up on Andy Boardman. So he's doing a pretty good job here today, and he looks as though he may well be taking that victory this season. Nico Kumpu, Joe Dorber not able to take the opportunities they were offered, as after taking a championship lead and a 1-2 lockout in qualifying, they haven't been able to back it up. Raphael Huell now catching up to the back of the number 777 Dorber, but at the moment not made his way in.
Yeah, not made his way in just yet on that one. Raphael Huell, though, continues to extend his race lead, this time by to 2:01.5 for Huell out front, and Andy Boardman 2:02.2. Will Stevenson 2:02.1, so staying with Boardman. Lily Armstrong dropping off ever so slightly, 2:04.3. They've elected to take their mandatory pit stop this time by quite early on, with 45 just over to go on the race clock. We typically see a lot of drivers splitting this down the middle because a tyre change is mandatory. So make drivers add at least 1 litre of fuel and change tyres. So the stop is still going to be 30 seconds regardless of the fuel load. So a lot of drivers tend to split this down the middle. They take enough fuel for 30 minutes or so, add the final remaining 30 minutes and take a set of tyres, which kind of sets them up nicely for the latter half of the race. Although if you're doing that now, you're going to be on a heavier fuel load on fresh tyres, and then by the time we kind of reach the checker flag, everybody's going to be on 15 minute older tyres, should we say, than the guys that have elected to split this one down the middle. We don't see too many drivers running to the end of the pit window like we typically see in the GT3 races. Nobody really takes the full fuel load at the start, just drops a splash and dash and a set of tyres, because again, you don't get the most out of the tyres when you take them that late on. It's better to take them kind of halfway through, as we see Marco Badowski sizing up a move this time on Tom Shipston down the Conrod into the chase side by side. I think Shipston being very sensible, a little bit of a lift there, allowing the Team Monkey Racing number 45 to get through back into single file for the chase, and everybody comes out nice and clean. Marco Badowski up into P4, Tom Shipston down into P5, and he's going to remain there, I feel, for this race, Joe, in that no man's land. Badowski's going to be too quick for him, whereas he's going to be too quick for the guys behind. So Shipston with another lonely race on the cards tonight, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Marko Badowski let go does make a lot of sense if you really think deep about it, because those drivers are, as we've got battling for that P2, Will Stevenson and Andy Borman having a scrap here. But I think it makes sense for the drivers to allow the positions to go through Marko Badowski, for example, to allow the quote-unquote quicker drivers to go through, as there's a lot of scrapping to go, and there's a lot of drivers to fight as well. Will Stevenson now having sacrificed the position to Andy Borman, and the number 69 in second place, looking for his first podium of the season. And Stevenson, he's 5.9 seconds ahead of Marko Badowski, but the potential for them to close in is decently high. And well, we'll see what happens as Matt Malcolm tries to fight as well. And he's just behind Kevin Boss, the number 31, looking to defend, but I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to defend. This section is going to be pretty easy. It's the rest of it that he's going to struggle with.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very tricky to get through on the mountain, as we said. But now coming down the Conrod Straight, has Kevin Boss got a good enough exit to defend from the charging Matthew Malcolm in the slipstream of the number 31? He doesn't look close enough coming into the chase. I don't think he's going to try anything too desperate, because they are making good ground away from Mike Redford behind, and that's the key thing. You don't want to be caught up fighting each other, because it does just hemorrhage so much time to the guy behind, especially when you're going side by side through corners at Bathurst that aren't really designed for double file. So some very sensible racing, I think, going on at the moment between these two. Eric, in our YouTube chat, we welcome all the interaction you guys have, whether it's Twitch or YouTube. We are monitoring both the chats at the moment. Notice the 88 had a very long stop, and that is, of course, Lily Armstrong in the number 88. And he's right, it was a 1:26 from pit in to pit out. It was only 5 seconds slower than 5 seconds faster, sorry, than Nico Kumpu, who, if you remember, had the big accident up at McPhillamy Park. So something definitely happened to the Kaiju Police Department car during one of those laps, and I can only assume it's going to be a side-on impact in the wall. We see it quite often here at Mount Panorama, so I feel Armstrong's car has been down the wall at some point. That's come in, had some repairs done, new tyres, and of course a dribble of fuel to get them to the end, and they're back out ready to fight another day. And Nico Kumpu is looming in the background, 2.2 seconds away, and that gap, I feel, will close up rather quickly in the next few stages. Meanwhile, though, Mike Redford also down the lane. He's pulled himself out from behind Kevin Boss and Matthew Malcolm, so maybe wants nothing to do with that fight if he does manage to catch those two, possibly hoping to do it in about 15-20 minutes time when those guys come down the lane. And we could see Mike Redford playing a little bit of strategy here at the moment.
Yeah, Mike Redford potentially employing a bit of strategy. I think there's a chance that a lot of them now are just it's a strategic game as it is, and they are just employing various different strategies. It's interesting to see the different strategies employed by different drivers across the racing series. We will see what happens with all of them as the penalties are coming in thick and fast. We'll get them in the next couple of minutes, and most specifically the one for the incident involving Joe Dorber. We will see what happens with that one, but that is going to be the crucial one that potentially could decide this championship, although Joe is quite a significant distance off everybody else. He had a lot of damage damage incurred on his car, and that is, well, the reason why he's so far off. So it's not necessarily going to drag him back into the race, but with 38 minutes left, you never quite know what is going to happen, as we now have that verdict on the incident between the number 108 Will Stevenson and the number 45, as well as Joe Dorber, as it's been deemed that all three of them were involved in that incident, and it was a 10-second for the number 45, being Marco Badowski. You can see that pop up on your screens just there, but Joe Dorber goes penalty free, and that is Marco Badowski penalised. But for Nico Kumpu, he won't really care about that because it's almost sealed his championship.
Yeah, absolutely. So all he's really got to do is kind of finish ahead, hasn't he, of his teammate, and he's pretty much got that one in the bag. Just watching back the replay on my end, it was Badowski going for the outside of Kumpu. Dorber. Dorber kind of slid up the cambered piece of road, and then unfortunately got collected by most of the field. Badowski managing to park it against the tyres and avoid most of the oncoming cars, and it was Dorber's car that took the real beating, which explains the 1 minute 41 down pit lane. Regular pit stop time, and we're looking at roughly tonight is a 1 minute 9 for Matthew Malcolm. Mike Redford's done a 1 minute 19, so I think Redford's maybe had some damage at some point in his lap as well, and he's got that car fixed, ready for the latter half of the race. Of course, Badowski with the 10 seconds to serve, that'll be added on to his pit stop timer. So that will be served an extra 10 seconds stationary. So rather than the 30 seconds we tend to see within ACC, it'll be 40 seconds before he is released. And again, anybody with additional penalties after their pit stop, we haven't got any yet, touch wood, but they'll be added on to the final race time. So that will adjust their final finishing position. And it's gone from bad to worse for Nico Kumpu. He's round at the bottom of Skyline, and he's lost it all the way down the S's and ended up kind of whipping a J-turn into the wall almost. And that's going to be more damage. Mike Redford has to take avoiding action, and then Kumpu in frustration knocks it off the wall and gets that car back underway once again. All he has to do is finish ahead of his teammate with about a 4-point deficit. I think it comes down to, once you add on the pole position for Nico Kumpu, he's 4 points behind his teammate. So he's just got to finish in a position that's 4 points ahead of Dorber, and now they're kind of neck and neck on the road in 12th and 13th. Joe Dorber there just coming down the Conrod. That's Raphael Huell in the background about to lap him, and the difference between P12 and P13 is 2 points. So Kumpu has to do a little bit more to get 4 points ahead. He's got to finish in P11 with Dorber finishing in P13. So Kumpu can't afford a pit stop right now, Joe, to fix that damage he's just incurred.
No, and that could really swing the championship back in the favour of the other Rebound Racing car. That could be absolutely huge, and it's just about who has the bottle, who can hold their nerve at this point in the championship. Nico Kumpu 12th, Joe Dorber 13th. This is crucial for the championship. Joe would have been secretly happy to see his teammates having issues, and seeing that the number 777 could well still be on for the championship despite an incident earlier on. That would be a saving grace for the number 777, as well as the number 45. Don't forget that he was involved in the incident, and he would have been feeling a little bit sheepish about that one. But yeah, after all is said and done, we could be seeing Nico Kumpu slipping, well, the title slipping away from Nico Kumpu's hands.
You see how much he's wrestling the steering wheel coming down the mountain. That rear end of the Lamborghini really not happy after taking a shunt into the wall. That's going to have affected the rear wing somewhat, the diffuser on that car. And if it's anything like the McLaren 720S, when that gets rear damage, that becomes very undrivable in general. You lose all kind of faith in the rear end of that car, and it's not really a pretty thing to try and hustle around the circuit once again. Just looking to the last lap times, hoping to get, he's lost about 10 seconds from the incident. 2:12.8 last time by Dorber, 2:01.9, and of course we're going to get you a lap update when they both cross the line. But Raphael Huell, bit of traffic ahead, 9 seconds clear now of Andy Boardman. That gap's been opening up ever since he's taken the race lead, running about 0.7 of a lap quicker consistently. Huell's still in the 201s, Boardman struggling to break out the 202s, and Will Stevenson also in the 202s, but Badowski in the 201s as well. So Could see him climbing a few more places, but with the 10-second penalty, he's going to have to do more than that over the course of the race to undo that 10 seconds that he's yet to serve in the pit stop. Just coming across the line there, Nico Kumpu 2027, Joe Dorber 2019. So it's about 0.8 of a lap. It's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but spread over the next 33 minutes, 0.8 a lap. I think we could see Dorber still taking this title, catching Kumpu, passing him, and cementing himself in that position.
I think there's very much an opportunity for that as we head through this race. I think there's an opportunity for anything to happen. We thought that it was just going to be a pretty clean run to the end for the top two. It's just about who would finish ahead of those top two that would come out on top. That is not how this race has gone. So who knows what is going to happen within the next few laps on this racetrack. But yes, or within the next half an hour on this racetrack, in fact. But it certainly has been a dramatic start to this the Bathurst Grand Prix in the first half of this race. I've said Grand Prix, but I mean, technically I'm not wrong. We've had this debate before earlier in the season, but we've decided that it was a 50-50. Andy Borman comes into the pit lane now, and so he relinquishes that podium spot for an undercut instead, and we will see potentially others coming in as the real, of course, the legal pit window opens right race, and Joe Dorber only just hit that. But it's really this sort of point where the pit window really opens.
Yeah, we should see a flurry of cars in theory either this lap or next coming down the lane to get their mandatory stops done. Andy Boardman, of course, he's dropped to P7. Mandatory stop served for the number 69. That will promote Will Stevenson very briefly up into P2. 11.5 seconds off the back of Raphael Huell currently. Marco Badowski 1.8 off the back of Will Stevenson. But again, 10 seconds to serve should slip him in theory behind Tom Shipston. If my maths is right, it is. Kevin Boss 9.3 seconds off the back of Shipston. So it's about a 15-second gap to Boss. So he should be safe. Only dropping one position, but still one position nonetheless overall. And Andy Boardman, of course, the first car essentially on the road to make his pit stop. So we'll have to watch where he kind of climbs up and after that the cycle has gone through. Tom Shipston through turn one. Again, I predicted it. A bit of a no man's land race for him. 6.2 seconds now off the back of Badowski, and Kevin Boss 11.3 seconds behind. He's taken his mandatory pit stop as well. So we'll see Kevin Boss dropping a few more positions just yet on that one. We have had a follow on Twitch. Jakob spins a lot. Thank you very much. We do appreciate any follows, likes, subscribes, all that good stuff. Helps us grow the RCI TV channel, and of course helps us do what we do quite well, I would say, by this point. Not tooting our own trumpets here, Joe, but I would say we're pretty good at the broadcasting game. And of course, you can join us on Fridays when we're back with another broadcast. That's going to be for Le Mans Ultimate as the LMGT Sprint Series concludes. That's in Imola. And we've also got Saturday. We've got two more broadcasts to get through this week. The RSS Endurance Series on iRacing, 6 hours of Watkins Glen, comes on your screen on Saturday as we see Lily Armstrong making up a position on Matthew Malcolm. I think that was a, let's say, cooperative move, shall we, Joe?
Yes, I think potentially as they're just working together to try and catch up, which is a pretty common strategy, all things considered. But it's a good one nonetheless, and well, we'll see what happens as they both try to catch up to Damien Lowe, the car in ahead, and well, he's not coming to the pits yet, so the car properly in ahead is going to be Kevin Boss, Damien Lowe hasn't come into the pits, Kevin Boss has, and so he is the next car up, 3.3 seconds up the road. You've got a number of drivers who now have made their pit stops, the top five and Damien Lowe, the only ones not to have come into the pit lane, and Will Stevenson actually proved me wrong, instantly dives into the lane, and so does, oh no, that's just Will Stevenson who's just come into the pit lane. Apologies, I read the penalty thing wrong, but alas, they will still try to, because of course they all need to pit at some point in this race, and I think it's going to be soon for the majority of the drivers.
Yeah, I think it's going to be rather soon, Stevenson, as you said. Down the lane, Badowski then promoted up into P2, trying to stretch the legs a bit more and open up a bit more of a margin to see if he can kind of propel himself away from the impeding 10-second time penalty that is, of course, looming in his MFD. That'll be playing on his mind somewhat. But again, no stranger to receiving penalties is Badowski. Does seem to find himself in the wars in a few rounds so far in the Lamborghini, and of course knows exactly how to minimize the loss that he does receive from that. Joe Dorber has allowed Raphael Huell through, so Dorber goes a lap down. Huell, of course, still yet to pit, so he will be able to reclaim that lap back at some point, trying to, of course, catch his teammate just ahead of him, although doesn't really need to try all too much, because I think by our comms box maths, in theory, Joe Dorber still has this one in the bag, providing Nico Kumpu doesn't gain too many more positions. He should walk away from here today, your Lamborghini Super Trofeo champion. Looking at the last lap times, 2:02 flat for Joe Dorber, 2:03 flat for Nico Kumpu. So the gap is shrinking somewhat as we see Joe Dorber put his next lap in. 2:01.9, so still gaining lap upon lap. As race leader Raphael Huell peels off in front of him. I thought I saw a car dart off into the pit lane. Huell comes down the lane to take his mandatory stop, which in theory will promote Badowski and Shipston up a few places. Although, like you say, Joe, the pit window is normally around about now as Shipston comes down the lane, so eats my words entirely. Number 60 for his mandatory stop, which means Badowski has stayed out. So Marco Badowski provisionally race leader at this moment in time. He wants to see, I guess, in the clear air that he's got, if he can stretch the legs any more on that Lamborghini to try and minimize the loss of time from his pit stop. Meanwhile, Kevin Boss and Lily Armstrong duking it out through the Forest Elbow.
Yeah, they are, and we'll see it continue throughout this one as Lily Armstrong was working with Matt Malcolm, has now got the pace over Matt Malcolm and tries to close in on Kevin Boss. She's right in behind the number 31, and they're going to try and make the move very soon. Is it going to be into the final couple of corners on this racetrack? They're certainly looking very racy in behind and pulling out potentially to the outside of the final corner, or does Kevin Boss just have enough overspeed? He does, and so there is not a move yet, but down the main straight that could change. And is it going to change? Lily still sitting in the slipstream and still not making the move, but remaining very close.
Fastest hands in the west working through Hell Corner there, trying to get a good exit up the mountain straight towards Quarry, but I don't think it's going to be enough, even with the slipstream. Kevin Boss's car looking rather slick in a straight line as he jumps on the brakes for turn number 2, of course, using the inside line to kind of use the camber and suck the car through the outside line, not really favoured through Griffin's Bend as both cars head up into the cutting. You can see the hands there of Lily Armstrong working away, and a fantastic run through the cutting. Pulls alongside Kevin Boss before they get towards Reed Park, and Kevin Boss on the favoured side of the road, able to cover off the number 88 Lamborghini. But again, very good run out of the cut, and I wasn't even expecting that myself. And Lily Armstrong tailgating Kevin Boss, pushing him essentially across the mountain as they head down towards Skyline. Make sure you get your braking points right, because this can go south very quickly, as we've seen with a few other drivers making it safely through the S's and the Dipper as they head out towards Forest Elbow. I think Lily Armstrong this time might be close enough to use that slipstream. If they can get a good run through the elbow, the gap opens up ever so slightly, but Kevin Boss's car definitely slicker in a straight line, but Armstrong is close enough for that slipstream, jumps in the toe, tries to close the gap, but Kevin Boss's car looking rather slick as they head over the crest under the Pirelli banners towards the chase. I don't think Armstrong's going to be even close enough to try and fire one up the inside. Not close enough indeed. Stays in line with Kevin Boss as they head through the chase. Could they get a good run down in towards the final corner? I'm not so sure on this one, as we see Matthew Malcolm back down the pit lane. That's for an unscheduled pit stop for the number 199. I'm not too sure what has happened there. Maybe another touch with one of the walls up to the top of the mountain. But provisionally, Team Monkey Racing 1-2. Yet to take their pit stops, though. Banowski and Varga are leading this race.
Yes, and I'm sure when we get the Varga report later on, potentially, it will be a very, very positive one for Peter Varga. Well, that is if they do end up coming out on top in this race. But yeah, we'll see where they end up coming out. Of course, they are only 9 seconds ahead of Raphael. Huell has been very dominant in this race. And, well, he's just driven so incredibly well. He's now 9.7 seconds ahead of Andy Boardman. Well, it would have been a boring race for him. He won't care because he will be in the lead of it. Lily Armstrong pulling to the outside line. Is she going to get through? Once again, just warded off that move not being made once again for the Calue Racing car, and just sitting in behind, braking late, missing the corner and having to take the off-road. So that could see penalties incurred to Lily Armstrong, but just outbraking herself into the corner whilst trying to threaten Kevin Boss. Didn't see the braking point, I'd imagine, and then they therefore are just going to sit in behind for yet another lap. But that is not the ideal scenario for yet another occasion, and Lily isn't doing a great job here of setting themselves up for these overtakes, but they are certainly getting themselves in great positions, and eventually one of these will stick.
Yeah, it's like you throw enough moves at something, one of them's going to stick eventually, isn't it? So, yeah, definitely Armstrong, certainly with a lot of moves to their name at the moment, losing a bit of ground to Kevin Boss, but finding their way back through once again. Marco Badowski through the lane. He's done his in and out. Peter Varga has inherited the race lead provisionally. And I think Raphael Huell has just about managed to jump Badowski as well as they head up Mountain straight into the turn number 2. I think Huell will be more favoured in this fight, of course, on hotter tyres, but I think Badowski isn't going to take this one line down, and if they can block, of course, Huell through the mountain section, that's going to be very good for Huell's race. But I think Huell and Boardman have got through. It's actually Tom Shipston, I think, that Badowski has found themselves now battling with, and we did say Shipston would have a bit of a lonely race, but does manage to find another car, at least an exiting pit lane for Badowski as he comes out, of course, 10 seconds down on his pit stop. It was a 1:16.4 for Badowski on pit lane. Will Stevenson very fast through pit lane, 1 minute 5.8, the fastest time on the board at the moment. Everybody else remaining in the 1 minute 6s, whether it's 1 minute 6 flat or 1 minute 6.6. We've got a 1 minute 7 for Kevin Boss. And then, of course, the back end of the field is all kind of 1 minute 26s. We've got a 1 minute 19 for Mike Redford, a bit of damage for him. Nico Kumpu, of course, 1 minute 31. Joe Dorber, 1 minute 41 as well on that one. Damian Lowe, 1 minute 18. That suggests some damage some point for him. And Matthew Malcolm still remains in the pit lane. Maybe some technical troubles have plagued him tonight. Not sure if we'll see him back out on circuit, but nonetheless made a valiant effort so far. As Kevin Boss checking his mirrors, of course. How close is Lily Armstrong into the chase? Not close enough. I think this is the trade-off we're seeing at the moment. Joey mentioned it in the qualifying earlier on. It's kind of the minimum wing versus the maximum wing argument, where Kevin Boss is very slick coming through the first and the kind of end of the lap, but across the mountain he's made that car very kind of loose, so can't carry as much speed as Armstrong does across the top of the mountain. And we saw it in qualifying, of course. Badowski was P4 with the fastest middle sector, but everybody else kind of trumped him ahead in 1 and 3. So I think this is literally the setup difference that we're seeing right now. Kevin Boss a 2 minute 3.7, Armstrong also a 2 minute 3.7, so equa times for these guys, but you can see on the straights Boss is definitely pulling legs on the number 88.
Yes, he is, and well, we'll see it continue most likely throughout this race. As Kevin Boss, he's a driver who knows exactly what he's doing. Lily Armstrong desperate to get through, and has squandered a couple of opportunities over the last few laps, and potentially will do over the next few laps as well. But maybe Kevin will make a mistake and through will go Lily, as they they have sort of sorted themselves out into a battle only between themselves in this race. Kevin Boss has had a pace deficit to Tom Shipston up ahead, which has meant that the gap has increased between the two. So that is not the ideal scenario for them both to be facing, but we shall see as they head through this one now. Kevin Boss still leading these two in this race, and well, Lily still looking for an opportunity, sensed one down the inside, then Kevin slammed the door. It's just been a rinse and repeat of these two, just door open, door slammed shut. Kevin is spotting every available opportunity, opening it up for Lily so then they commit to it and then backing out of it. It's very smart racing for the number 31, and racing that they're going to try to continue down onto the final couple of corners on this racetrack. It's going to be the leader of the two still being Kevin Boss, as we get a look at Mike Redford, the car in behind, who's trying to close the gap, but 10 seconds is a steep ask, and I don't think he's going to be able to do so unless there's some sort of incident between the two. Nico Kumpu and Joe Dorber now are in 11th or 10th and 11th, and well, we shall see where they end up in this race and how it mathematically stacks out for this championship.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've done some comms box math again as we've been going around, and it's immediately wrong as Nico Kumpu jumps up into P9 as Peter Varga, of course, exits the pits just behind. So we're going to have to work that one out again. I don't think Joe Dorber still remains in P11. He hasn't managed to jump up at all. So Joe Dorber's efforts so far are only plus 25 versus Nico Kumpu, of course, in P10. He nets 28 points. It still comes down to a singular point between the two rebound racing cars. Joe Dorber will finish, if positions remain right now, the checker flag is called, he will finish on 279 points, and it'll be Nico Kumpu on 278. So it'll be a singular point between the two rebound cars. So Dorber certainly should probably get a move on, but 10 seconds to the good on Peter Varga. It's going to be a very big ask in the last 16 minutes of the race. Nico Kumpu, meanwhile, 1 second off the back of Mike Redford. He could see an extra position being made up. And of course, if he takes Redford's P8, that should cement him the championship points. So still 16 minutes to go as we see Joe Dorber with a bit of a drift down through the Esters and the Dipper, manages to get it back under control. Not like his teammate Nico Kumpu, who found the wall, but we'll keep you updated with the comms box maths as we go. Raphael Huell at the front of the field, though, 14.5 seconds to the good nearly on that one over Will Stevenson. He's 10.2 seconds clear over Andy Boardman. I think Boardman's had an impact in the wall, actually. Looking at the front end of that car, it certainly looks damaged on the TV cam. So Boardman now, a bit of a wounded animal to Marco Badowski, and he senses it immediately up the inside into turn 2, sees the speed difference. Badowski up into P3 onto the bottom step of the podium. That's for the number 45 Team Monkey Racing entry. The number 69 Greased Weasel Racing car will slip down a position to P4, and you've got to be careful because Tom Shipston, although I said he's going to have a bit of a lonely race, 3 seconds off the back, could Shipston take another position away here as well?
Yeah, I mean, we jinxed it in terms of Tom Shipston and saying that it was going to be an easy, boring race, and it hasn't been. Or it looks as though it has the potential to not be even in this race. Andy Boardman trying to close in on Marco Badowski hasn't quite worked, and the number 69 has fallen off a bit in terms of pace. In behind, was 4/10 behind in the last sector. We'll see where they end up as they cross the split times, but yeah, pressure could be applied for Tom Shipston in this race, and we'll see. With only a quarter of the race to go, it could all be up in the air for these drivers. Nico Kumpu trying to get in the slipstream of Mike Redford and trying to increase his championship chances here today. He will do so if he gets through on Mike Redford and then tries to get up ahead of Lily Armstrong. Unlikely that he's going to be able to make that move, but with Joe Dorber 8 seconds off, any sort of time advantage counts, especially if he makes any mistakes as he did earlier. I don't think Joe Dorber, you can say, made any mistakes in this race. I think you can say that Nico Kumpu has had 2 separate ones. So in terms of the most deserving of this race out of everybody, it is certainly going to be the German. But, I mean, people said that about Abu Dhabi 2021. And, well, while I won't get into that debate, because I have no strong feelings about it, and I know that a lot of people do, it is fair to say that the best doesn't always win, and in some people's opinions, the best didn't win there. We've got not long left to go in this race. Raphael, you're 14 seconds ahead of Will Stevenson. There is almost no chance, unless he makes a Kumpu level mistake or has a Podolski level of damage, that he is going to drop that position. Speaking of Kumpu, he pulls alongside Mike Redford, and he could be making this move up into 8th place. They're going to head side by side, but in the end, Nico Kumpu does have that edge and makes that move.
Yeah, Kumpu now up into P8. This will net him a few more bonus points in his championship run towards, of course, the back of Joe Dorber. But Mike Redford not giving this one up. Very close through the cutting is Mike Redford to the back of Nico Kumpu. So we'll have to see if Redford will try and maybe retaliate against Kumpu. But I don't think he's going to be close enough across the top of the mountain at the moment. But again, the difference in wing, could we see a bit of a switchback going on at the moment as we catch the kind of tail end of the pass out of turn 2. But look how close Redford gets into the cutting. He's very brave on the brakes, almost pushing Kumpu around the Audi boarding as they go towards the top end of the mountain, and now beginning to cascade back down. This is the replay Ashbivy actually wanted to show us. Lily Armstrong has got through Kevin Boss at some point during the lap. That's going to be across the top of the mountain, I can only assume there. So Lily Armstrong now up into P6, Kevin Boss down into P7, and Nico Kumpu 12.5 seconds off the back of Boss. I think that's going to be a very big ask for him to make up that kind of ground. But again, never say never. The mountain does tend to bite hard. Mistakes have been coming through from drivers that we don't typically see mistakes from, as Tom Shipston begins to size up Andy Boardman. You can tell how much the front end of that car is damaged. Tom Shipston sailing past like Andy Boardman's not even moving, and even manages to get back onto the racing line for turn number 2. Tom Shipston now up into P4. Andy Boardman slips another position to P5, but 13.5 seconds back. Lily Armstrong, 11 minutes to go, Joe. Again, going to be a big ask, and I don't think it's going to happen. So Boardman should at least take away a P5 from today.
Yeah, and I think he'll be happy with that one in some sense. Of course, you can't be happy with it knowing the situation that's been happening, but it will be a personal best for him in what hasn't been the easiest season. He's had ninth, no points, and then a 6th, so this would be a personal best, even if he drops that 4th place to Tom Shipston with about 10 minutes to go. But of course, never say never, as you said, and as we've reiterated a couple of times across this broadcast, anything can happen, even something as dramatic as a last lap overtake or a championship decider decided by an incident with somebody who is not in the championship, which could potentially be what we have here. Marko Budowski making contact, and he has actually served that 10-second. He does no longer have it in this race, and well, he will be trying to flex his legs now. Still in 3rd place, so arguably not punishment enough.
Yeah, I don't know if we can catch it, but Kevin Boss has had a moment on the mountain at some point. The number 31, I'm not sure if a long replay would cut it at this stage, but we'll give it a go and see what happens, I guess. We might just catch the tail end of it. And as he comes through the boarding at the top of the mountain through the BP section, through Reed Park, and of course cascading down the left corners, it feels like they go on forever and ever, and misses the wall that I thought could be the victim. And McPhillamy Park we go through, and there we go. Too much curb, spins it backwards. A light tap into the wall, though. Gets it stopped before it hits the next wall. Although a very scary position to try and get back underway from. Uses the wall to kind of minimize time loss and gets it back going again. But that has brought the gap down for Nico Kumpu to 2.1 seconds onto the back of Kevin Boss. And Kevin's going to be a bit shaken up from that incident. So again, this could be another place we see Nico Kumpu taking? And I mean, currently, where they stand at the moment, Nico doesn't actually have to do anything else to take the championship fight by my comms box maths. If the race finished right now, it will be Nico Kumpu on 284 and Joe Dorber on 279 points. So Nico Kumpu will be the Super Trofeo champion as Kevin Boss runs a little bit wide through the cutting over the marbles. That's going to hamper the pace across the top of the mountain once again. So it's going to allow Nico to close in that little bit more. 8.5 minutes to go, Joe. I think Kumpu wants to get another place, certainly to cement this championship a little bit more, because if anybody ahead of Dorber makes a mistake, you've got Varga and Redford. If either of those two make a mistake, Dorber could be through up a few more positions, and then Nico Kumpu is going to wish that he challenged Kevin Boss a bit harder.
Yeah, if my maths are correct, which they most likely are not, then if Joe Dorber makes up a position, they'll be level on points. We will see as Nico Kumpu tries to get up to the back of Kevin Boss, and it is going to try and make that move. He does want to seal it here today, and he wants to seal it in style right on the back of Kevin Boss. Is he going to be able to make that move and take that opportunity? I don't think so quite yet, but he's going to continue to try and apply pressure onto the Dutchman right up ahead of him. Nico Kumpu now trying to close the gap between the two. Kevin will know what Nico's able to do. He'll also know that it is a whole different kettle of fish than fighting Lily Armstrong like he did earlier on, and he knows Nico will be much more desperate to make that move than Lily was. Nico, though, if he gets past Kevin Boss, will almost certainly seal that championship as he follows down the straight. Is he going to be able to take the opportunity into the first corner on the racetrack? No, he's not, and he stays in behind. Don't forget Mike Redford in the background as well, who's able to take the opportunity if Boss or Kumpu offer one up. Joe Dorber 4.1 seconds off of Peter Varga now, and Kumpu trying to close in on Boss, trying to solidify that championship lead. He closes in once again down the long straight, but once again isn't close enough. He's close enough to pull slightly out of the slipstream to have to see his breaking point, but he's not close enough to make that move just yet. And once again into the next corner, pulling out to see his breaking point, but not pulling out to see for a potential overtaking opportunity. They will wage this war on for a very long time, and I think if he's going to make a move, it's going to be down that next straight.
I think Boss has just about got the straight line speed, though, hasn't he, at the moment? He's very slick in a straight line, as we've seen. It looks like Nico very fast over the top of the mountain towards the inside of McPhillamy Park. That's certainly going to distract Kevin Boss's eye line down towards Skyline. Nico thinks about it, backs out of it, allows Boss to take the run down through Skyline, through the S's and the Dipper. And Forest Elbow is the next corner that awaits, but I can't imagine a move being pulled out here. But never say never as Kumpu closes in. He's going to be one of the closer cars we've seen coming down the Conrod Straight against Kevin Boss. So let's have a look. Will it be enough of a slipstream for Kumpu to close up into the chase? But I think Boss is just so quick in a straight line in that car. I think he's dropped all of the wing out of this car entirely. And of course, it's just enough to fend off the likes of Lily Armstrong and Nico Kumpu, who have maybe played it a bit safe, put a touch of wing in their car to make it kind of more stable across the top of the mountain. You can see in braking zones, Nico certainly making it up. And will he have a look down into the final corner? He pulls out, thinks better of it again, tucks back in behind Kevin. I think he's just playing the long game now, because once Nico gets through Kevin Boss, it's like 14 seconds towards Lily Armstrong, and the move could be on here, down into turn one. Kumpu towards the inside. Kevin Boss doesn't put up much of a fight, and Nico Kumpu now up into P7, solidifying more points to his championship efforts. Kevin Boss down into P8. Got to be careful, because Mike Redford is just behind, 1.8 seconds to the good now.
Yeah, and he will have seen that battling and seen an opportunity, sensed one, to get up ahead. But of course, he's going to try and stay in behind for the time being, just build up that momentum. But we will see what they're able to do, and we'll see what Joe Dorber's able to do as he's closed in on Peter Varga. Peter Varga himself has closed in on Mike Redford. So if that momentum continues, we will have potentially the most incredible end to an RCI championship we have ever seen. So many thrills and spills across the season, spills especially coming here in Bathurst, and we will see what they're going to be able to do. Joe Dorber is going to be trying to close that gap in. It is now or never for his championship challenge, and he's 2.6 behind Peter Varga, 4 minutes left on the clock. I think it's going to be enough for Nico Kumpu to take the title, but any mistakes drawn out from any of these drivers will make it ever closer.
Yeah, absolutely. So every position matters now, doesn't it, for the Rebound Racing boys? Are they going to have any more bonus positions to make up that deficit? I don't think Dorber is going to get much more. 2.6 seconds to the good off of Varga, but again, never say never. The mountain does like to bite pretty hard, as we alluded to earlier on in the broadcast. And when it does go wrong, it tends to go wrong quite spectacularly, as we've seen so far. We did speak earlier on as well about Marco Badowski being maybe a bit of a dark horse in this championship run. If the race was to end right now, it would be 249 points to Badowski, 287 to Nico Kumpu, and 279 to Joe Dorber. So Kumpu and Dorber will switch. Badowski will remain in his current position, so won't be good enough to take any additional points away. Raphael Huell was off the back of Badowski as well in championship standings when we came in here. It was 173 points to Huell, of course, plus the bonus points for the fastest lap, should that stay in the hands of Raphael Huell. I can't see anybody beating it on a set of worn tires, but again, never say never. They'll finish on 241 points, so just off the back of Badowski. So close, but just not close enough. And you look back over the season results and you think, kind of, what more could they have done? I mean, Raphael Huell P11 in Watkins Glen, that could have thrown him back into the championship fight. If it was a little bit higher. Badowski again didn't have a good Watkins Glen, P8 for them. So plenty of what ifs, what could have been, what could have had, but it all does come down to what you've done so far. And of course, we can't turn back time at this current stage in time. Raphael Huell has begun another lap. I think it's going to be this one and one more. So it's going to be 2 laps at least before we see the checkered flag, providing Huell doesn't slow down across the top of the mountain. Of course, he could end it prematurely. He's got 17.8 seconds to the good, so he's got a little bit of time to hemorrhage if he doesn't want to take it one more to Will Stevenson. But knowing Huell and the madman that he is, attempting solo endurance races with us here at RCI, I'm sure he's going to drag this one out for an extra lap for us up here in the broadcasting booth. Of course, Will Stevenson P2, Badowski P3, Tom Shipston P4, and Andy Boardman in P5. Joe Dorber closing on to the back of Peter Varga. Once again, it's 1.5 seconds to the good through the last timing gate. And I mean, looking at the lap times, 2:01.2 for Joe, 2:02.5 for Peter Varga. This could be a fight on our hands towards the end of the race. And of course, if it does, it's going to change the championship contention once again, with a few more points sprinkled into Joe Dorber's pot. That'll be for P10. So they'll net themselves 28 points, but it still won't be enough. It will be 287 to Nico Kumpu and 282 to Joe Dorber. He's going to have to clear Varga and Redford in the dying minutes of this race as Raphael Huell comes down the Conrod straight. 40 seconds to go. He's about halfway down, indicated by the triangle on the circuit map, I was going to say. I don't think he's got enough in him now to back out. 30 seconds on the clock. It's going to be a big slowdown and potentially losing a place. So Huell will certainly go one more as he goes under the Liqui-Moly Bridge into the final corner for the penultimate time. 18.2 seconds to the good, but meanwhile across the top of the mountain, Varga is catching Redford, but at the same time, Joe, Varga is being caught by Nico as everybody is pushing the limit to that wall in these dying stages to really try and maximize lap time at the moment, and Varga could get held up here through Skyline.
Yeah, but just to give you a clarification, Joe Dorber needs to get Redford, Boss and Varga if he's able to take this title. So the 1.7 gap between Redford and Boss may well be just a bit too much for Joe Dorber to be able to take that championship away. He's chasing Peter Varga. He knows he needs this overtake on this lap. And is he going to be able to make that move? We will just have to wait and see. Varga's going to get the slipstream off Mike Redford. Redford's going to try and break it as Joe Dorber tries to climb over the hill and get in behind. He senses an opportunity opportunity, but no, he doesn't go for it, and he waits for just another couple of corners. We will see what they're going to be able to do as they head onto what will be the final lap of this race. Dorber spotted an opportunity down the inside of Peter Varga, but he's going to go once again around the outside of that final corner. Who's going to be later on the brakes? It's going to be Peter Varga, who holds on to the position, and just in behind is Joe Dorber, but he's going to pull out once again down the main straight. He's going to get through. That is Joe Dorber. He's going to be later on the brakes into the first corner, you would imagine, and he's going to take that P10 away, but no, Peter Varga defends this. He is going to win this championship for Nico Kumpu. If it wasn't already sealed, it certainly is now. Joe Dorber is going to be so frustrated in behind the number 508, and he's just going to try and sit in the slipstream and get through once again. The headlights flashing for Dorber in the day. Headlights flashing as well for Peter Varga as he's trying to communicate a message to the car behind, but using his headlights on the front of that car. Joe Dorber he's going to have to give up on this championship. There is nothing left in him to do to fight as the overtake on Peter Varga into that first corner could have kept his championship hopes alive, but as it is, it could be going the way, it's likely to be going the way of Nico Kumpu. This race goes the way of Raphael Huel, who's dominated. We've barely seen him all race, and he takes fastest lap. He takes maximum points in the race session, and the number 21 peaks at the end of the season, and he's going to seal that third place in the championship. Will Stevenson will come across the line in second place. He will be very happy with that race as well, and so will Marko Badowski. Ups and downs at the start and at the end, and where he comes across the line in third place. Tom Shipston is going to take a very well earned fourth, 10 seconds in the end ahead of Andy Boorman. So the overtake he made it's just sealed that position for him, and well, he's shown pace to be up there with those podium contenders, but he got past Andy Boorman at the end and ended up 11 whole seconds ahead. Andy Boorman P5, Lily Armstrong P6, had more pace than that, but your championship leader is going to come around the final couple of corners, or at least he's going to take that championship lead with that 7th place, 37 points head his way, and so does the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Championship. Nico Kumpu is victorious. It's going to be Kevin Bost in P8, Mike Redford in P9, Joe Dorber, the champion-elect that didn't come off in P10 as he got past Peter Varga on that last lap, but he did not do enough to catch up to Redford or Boss, did not make those moves, and so the championship slips from the Germans' fingers. Damien Lowe and Matt Malcolm are the final finishers, or the final classified finishers, but Nico Kumpu is your champion.
Yeah, we came into this round, didn't we, knowing it would be a Rebound Racing car at the top. We just didn't know which one, and it is, of course, Nico Kumpu, in theory, with our comms box mass, who takes away the title this season. Joe Dorber, second in the championship. Just what could have been with a bit of a cleaner start. This could have been a very interesting race as it unfolded across the hour. Race results on your screen, of course, are pending any further stewards' inquiries. However, I don't think there are any, because the last report was an incident on lap 30, turn 11, involving the 777 and the 508. That was Peter Varga and Joe Dorber taking lumps out of each other, deemed as a racing incident, minor contact. So nothing to be had here between the two at the moment. Of course, Joe Dorber in our YouTube chat already. It's a bitter pill to swallow. Championship stolen. It is absolutely. Comes down to the last round every time here at RCI. It seems there's always a couple of drivers with a small margin, and unfortunately it was within the Rebound Racing camp. And we said earlier, didn't we, Joe, that of course the mountain bites hard, and it bit very hard today.
It certainly did, and well, more for Nico Kumpu than it did for any other driver. But it was a very, very interesting race from start to finish, as both championship contenders tried to bottle it at various different points, but were not able to do so in the end. And the title went the way of Nico Kumpu. Joe Dorber, unlucky to have had that incident, but he ends up in second place, second best after what has been an incredible run in this championship. He took 3 race victories in a row, but a poor result at Monza meant that he dropped the crucial championship points that would have been enough to take that victory home. There was, after the race, a couple of reports coming in, one including Joe Dorber, as the contact between himself and Peter Varga was deemed a racing incident, minor contact. I believe that was for the incident at turn 1, but there was also another one at turn 11, which was also deemed a racing incident. So clearly Joe Dorber getting his frustrations out on Peter Varga as he attempted to get through.
So we are seeing if we can get the final points standings for you here tonight. So do bear with us while we try and get that one underway. Of course, all our partners, they've been revolving around in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. Of course, from Ready Set Sim, who sponsor our iRacing series. That's coming this week on Saturday to RCI TV. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. 6 hours of GTD and GTPs taking lumps out of each other, I'm sure, around Watkins Glen. It's a very congested circuit. At least it can be on that one. Their mission, though, to simplify sim racing by providing a comprehensive and personalized experience, whether you're a novice looking to get started or an experienced racer, and always, of course, putting in the €400 prize pool for us in that series split between GTP and GTD. Coach Dave Delta, faster lap times start with Delta, a setup and data analysis app for iRacing, ACC, LMU, and even GT7, and Green Man Gaming, where you can buy games and game keys with Green Man Gaming. Get the best prices, awesome bundles, and exclusive game deals daily. And you can find our affiliate link down below for any future purchases. IMB Racewear, who partnered with us on our community series, providing fully custom designs to allow sim racers and real life racers to make the impact they've always wanted in their clothing. From gloves to socks to jackets, you can be sure that every piece is crafted with precision, style, and performance in mind. Moser Racing, again, need no introduction. They're a very common name in the world of sim racing, who we partnered with just last year, a leader in high quality sim racing gear, and they have everything you need to boost your racing experience. You can check them out down below and, of course, use our affiliate link on that one. And Motorsport UK Esports, where we're a recommended community. It's quite a prestigious thing. It's brought some new faces even into the RCI camp, and I believe with a membership with those guys, you can get discount within iRacing subscriptions. So be sure to head on over to their website. The RCI calendar, as we alluded to earlier on, it was the RSS Endurance Series on Saturday. But Friday, we're concluding our Sprint Series within LMU. Imola playing host to the final round. Martin Lawrence, with some consistent results, still leads the championship. Zach Vermaak still hot in contention, with Angela Scott and Philip Breischer very close as well. So that's really hotting up on Friday. You can join us on RCI TV for that one. Again, Saturday, RCI TV for the RSS Endurance Series. Again, that's live on both Twitch and YouTube as we get going underway for that one. And sign-ups have already filled for a full split on next Monday's championship. That's in the form of the Mini British GT Series with multi-class GT3 and GT4 following the real-life series in calendar format, including the flyaway round at Spa, half race distance, and a mixture of BOP. It should make for another great format. As I said, split 1 already filled, and a potential second split looking to open up if numbers make it higher. 50 drivers already in split 1 and 7 drivers on the reserves waiting for coveted spots on the grid. So head on over to the website and get your name down for that one. And I do believe we have the final championship results to bring you. This is, of course, pending still any kind of further inquiries that may be launched by drivers, but I can't imagine there will be. So from the top, we shall go with our comms box maths. Nico Kumpu taking the top step of the championship, 287 points to Joe Dorber's 282. A very valiant effort for both drivers involved in that one. Marco Badowski just wasn't to be this time by 249 points to their name. Raphael Huell just behind 241. Lily Armstrong remained in P5 with 197 points. Tom Shipston with 173. Will Stevenson on 152, with Andy Boardman just losing out on 146. Christian Benz slipping down the order, 122, and just behind 12 points, rounding out your top 10 Of course, we did lump everybody together in the pro category. Didn't split it off into silver and am, so it was every man, woman, and child against themselves. Les Stevenson on 106 slipped just outside the top 10. Damian Lowe, though, P12 with 95 points. A good effort there from him, usually seen in the night owl rounds. Kevin Boss on P13 with 93 points to their name. Peter Varga just behind on 91, and then a singular point separates the Peters. Peter Lundqvist on 90 points. The Peter punch-up that happened at Laguna. That's where it settled in the championship standings overall. P16, Richard Whittle, 67 points. Theobat Roskam, P17 with 56. Ted Ers, luckily no nightmare fuel here tonight on 34. And Matthew Malcolm rounds out the last of the point scorers on 31 points. 25 drivers signed up, 19 drivers finished the championship. That's a fairly successful one in terms of attrition, if I do say so myself. And as we said earlier on, the Mini British GT Series is open on the website with reserves. So fill up that reserves list and pester Kevin Boss to start a second split. And we might all make it to the grid for some multi-class action on Mondays. But for now, on Mondays, that is all she wrote from myself and Joe. Of course, Ash has been behind. I think Kevin Boss, actually, just before we ran out tonight, does want to say something. Kevin, welcome into the box. Very stressful race, I see, with Lily Armstrong and a few others fighting you along the way. But nevertheless, still a good race.
Yeah, it's definitely a good race, tough race. I think this is my best Bathurst race so far. Just the one spin, which didn't really give me a lot of damage because it was only 1.9 seconds, but the time loss was quite significant, which put me into the clutches of Nico Kumpu. So yeah, that happens. But yeah, I really came in here just to make sure that everyone who listens to this broadcast knows what how it's going to work as it stands with the possible split 2 for British GT. Is that last I checked, we had 8 reserves and all of them were GT3s. What I'm actually looking for is to have at least 5 GT4s so I can open up a split 2 and have like an equal split of GT3s and GT4s in both splits so that we can keep the multi-class in both splits. Though there will be some discussions behind the scenes that maybe we'll open split 2 up and it might be something slightly different than split 1. I hope that's not the case. But in any case, if you are hoping that a split 2 is going to open, best you can do is sign up in the reserves, and then especially now in GT4s, because the moment those signups start flooding in, we can seriously have a good look at opening split 2.
Heard it from the event admin himself there. Get yourself signed up in the GT4 category and see if we can push ourselves towards a second split, which is rather unheard of on Monday. So it would be a first time in quite a while, I would say, that we've seen 2 splits on a Monday. But yeah, you guys know what to do. Head on over to the website, racerci.com. You can check out all of our events anytime, day or night, including if you do fancy a one-off event or you find yourself with a free spot in your weeknight. As I alluded to earlier, this Friday, LMGT Sprint Series finalizes, RSS Endurance Series on Saturday, and then we head into June, where, of course, the Mini British GT calendar kicks off June 9th, first round taking place at Donington Park. And then on that same week, on the Saturday, we also have World Tour. That's going to be hopefully for 8 hours of Suzuka again. There'll be a solo sign up put up soon if you do want to take a one-off sign up for that round rather than committing to the whole of the World Tour Championship. And then their final round at Mount Panorama, 12 hours on July 5th. And then, of course, we've got weekly races with Mini British GT on Mondays for the foreseeable from June 9th onwards. So plenty to be had there. Thank you very much. Of course, if you've joined us, if you've lurked, if you're watching back, if you're still with us, we appreciate each and every single one of you. Of course, partners have been revolving around in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. And it is for a final time that we do say our goodbyes from the Super Trofeo. Nico Kumpu, your reigning champion for tonight. Joe Dorber, what could have been. And Marco Badowski and Raphael Huell in hot contention as well. So keep your eye on those 4 names within the Mini British GT Series. and see if one of them can do another double header. But from myself, John Dalton, from Joe Black alongside me, Ash Bibby behind the cameras, and of course all of our live stewards behind the scenes that we don't show enough love to, I would say, within the RCI community. We thank you each and every single one of you for watching, competing, driving, just being with us along this journey. It's been a wonderful one, and we hope to see you on Friday when we finalize the LMU LMGT Sprint Series at Imola. Take care.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Feel the rush, see the goal. Every second, take control. The world blurs, time won't wait. We rise, we fight, we accelerate.